Hello, my name is Stephen Thomas and I want to talk about hydroponics the KISS way. KISS is an acronym for Keep It Simple Stupid, or in my case, Keep It Simple Steve. So what is hydroponics? Well, let me give you an example. Here is an example of a plant. It's a catnip and it's grown in a bottle of water with plant nutrients. So there's no soil, and that is what hydroponics is. And this is the simplest, the best, the cheapest way of growing plants. So when this world is just a frazzled, burnt out hunk with just plastic and a little bit of water, you will still be able to grow plants, because this is the most water efficient way of growing a plant. Because you are growing the plant in water, and the water which you normally pour on the soil and just goes whoosh and disappears stays in your bottle. It can't go anywhere, so you just have to top it up every now and then. So how do we grow plants hydroponically? Well, we're going to take a bottle like this. We're going to cut the bottle here and turn it into this. Then we're going to take a sock, place it inside the bottle, fold the rim of the sock over the bottle and burn holes all the way around so that air can get under the sock and into this air space. Then we're going to plant our seeds on top of the sock. Now, what does the sock do? Well, I always use cotton socks because I just like cotton with a little bit of elastin. I don't like these synthetic socks. So what does the sock do? It wicks or sucks the water up, and this keeps the sock wet. And not only does it keep the sock wet, it keeps the sock cool because there's a little bit of evaporation. Now the roots of the plant are going to grow in the sock and in this air space, so they're going to get air, which is very important for plants' roots, and they're going to get water. And the roots are going to be kept cold, which plant roots like. But the top of the plant, here is some oreganum. Look how well that's growing. The oreganum likes the top, the leafy part, to stay warm, so that grows well, and then it likes the root part to stay cool. Now, if I had to try and grow this plant just in a plastic container full of soil, it would not grow. You try that, it'll just curl up and die. It'll show its total disapproval for you trying to grow it in a container filled with soil with no holes in the bottom. Why? Because plant roots need water, but they especially need air, and getting air to the plant roots is all important. So by this method of hydroponics, we get air in through these little holes under the sock, and then the roots grow in the air, half the roots, and the other half of the roots grow into the water. So the water is providing it with the water needs of the plant, but the top air space here is providing it with the roots with air, and that keeps the roots alive. But there's another secret to this. If you look, here's another oreganum. You see how green this water is? You place this in the sun and algae begins to grow. You can't help it. But the algae creates oxygen, I believe, which oxygenates the roots in the day. And then at night, there's no creation of oxygen, but the roots survive the night. And then the next day, again, there's a huge amount of oxygen created by the algae. So I believe that this being transparent also helps to oxygenate the roots. So, shall we get busy and show you how to make your system? Well, get any old plastic container. Like I say, the world is full of plastic, so let's do a bit of recycling of the plastic, and let's do something useful with this old bottle. So it has to be a transparent bottle. Take a nail scissors, stick it into the bottle and cut off the top of the bottle. So here we're cutting it off, and we're trying to keep it as straight as possible. And there we go. There is our bottle. Now, excuse me a second, I must just grab a sock. So here is our cotton sock, and we need a little bit of string. So we take some string, our scissors again, and now we get the sock nice and straight, we tie the sock around about there. So just wrap the string around the sock and then tie it. Any old knot. If you're not a Boy Scout, a granny will do. If you're a Boy Scout, a reef knot. Doesn't make any difference. And now there's our sock tied. Take your bottle, place the sock in the bottle, and pull the sock over the rim of the bottle. Like that. Get it fairly straight. This sock has got a little black or darker band, so I can get it as straight as possible. So there is our bottle with the sock hanging in it. Now I grab a soldering iron and I'm going to, near the top, burn through the sock and the bottle. I love the smell of plastic in the morning. Burn through, and this melts the sock to the bottle. Okay, do this in an open area so that you don't get the fumes breathed in. Then one last thing to do with your soldering iron, and that is burn a hole just about there. That's going to be the maximum height of your water. So there I go, just about there. Now I'm finished with this iron, I'm going to switch it off. Right. So now here is our hydroponic system. Next thing to do is to fill this with water. So we fill it. Actually, I've forgotten something. We have to burn holes in the sock on top. That is to allow our water to go through. So I'm burning some holes into the sock on top as well. Now we're finished with the soldering iron. Right, now the water will go in much easier. So we fill this with water. And eventually when it gets high enough, which I don't want to do because it will overflow out of here, and it will make sure there's always a little air space below. Next, we're ready to plant our seeds. So I'm going to place that there. I'm going to grab some seeds. Let's take some catnip seeds. And let's put the catnip seeds on top. So I'm sprinkling some seeds on top, and then I take a piece of toilet roll and I just tear a small piece off and place that on top of the sock, and you will see that it gets moist, and then we fill this right till it starts to overflow with water. So the function of this toilet roll is to make sure that your seeds stay moist on top, otherwise maybe they would dry out or blow away. So there you go. Now you've got that's all there is to it, and place it on the windowsill and it will grow. So we fill this all the way to the top till it begins to overflow, and you'll see that it's getting quite near the top, and then it will eventually pour out of this hole, so we can never overfill it and there will always be an airspace. So I found it was very important that you have these holes to allow the air to circulate to get to your plant's roots. And how simple could that be? How? And then you get these wonderful, there's some thyme. I love thyme, but my favorite herb is oregano or oreganum. But catnip, I wasn't able to grow catnip without hydroponically. I tried it in soil, but it didn't work. And here is my cat. He doesn't normally like to cooperate. Let's just see if he's at all interested in this catnip. Now, he loves catnip. He eats a lot of it, but he doesn't like eating it on demand. So, good cat. So there we go. He's eating it on the floor. So there we go. There is our hydroponic system of growing herbs. Now, you're not going to grow tomatoes or cabbages or huge plants. This is just to grow leafy plants. You want to grow leafy plants. And these plants are a few years old, so they will stay around. You just keep occasionally topping them up with water. So in our world where water is a scarcity, just think of how wonderful this is that you just top it up with a little bit of water. Now, you also need to get a plant food. And occasionally, this I use Stark Air's Nutri-Feed. Stark Airs, I hope that your check is in the post to me for advertising Nutri-Feed. This is filled with all the usual elements like NPK, which is your 3-to-1 normal fertilizer, and nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and phosphorus, P for phosphorus. And it's also got molybdenum and manganese and magnesium and boron and all the good stuff. And you can see how well these plants, they've never had anything except what comes out of this packet to feed them. So they give the instructions and they give a little spoon, and you just take a spoonful of this food. There we go. And this will, you throw this into a 5-liter watering can and fill the watering can with water. And what I do is about every 3 times that I fill it up, especially when you've got big plants like this which need a lot of food, you can perhaps do it a little bit more often. So every about 3 times I water with this plant food added. Other 2 out of 3 times I just fill it up with water. The only way I've ever managed to kill these plants is by overfeeding them. Not necessarily with this, but occasionally I just try a normal fertilizer, 3-to-1 fertilizer, and that can be quite strong. And that's the only way I've managed to kill my plants hydroponically, is by overfeeding them, making the mixture too strong. Because what happens is the water evaporates, and if your plant is not using that food enough, it can get too strong. It can get concentrated because the water is evaporating, but the plant food's staying behind. So every time the water evaporates, it gets a little bit stronger. But if you've got a big plant using up the plant food, well, then it's not going to obviously get too strong. So don't overfeed your plants. Give them mostly water, but when you see they're looking like, if the leaves look a little washed out, maybe it's time to give it a bit of plant food. So it's the simplest, loveliest way. And these leaves, oregano, delicious. And the minerals that you're getting, even though they're in an artificial form, are just the same minerals as the plant would suck out of the soil. You know, molybdenum is molybdenum. It doesn't matter if it comes out of a bag or out of the soil. And manganese is manganese, and nitrogen is nitrogen, and so on. So it makes no difference if it gets it from a synthetic source or an organic source, in my opinion, and the taste's delicious.